Yoshimitsu has been part of the Tekken universe since the first tournament, though you wouldn't know it by looking at him. His appearance changes each tournament. The name Yoshimitsu is given to the leader of the Manji clan, which is a group of ninjas who steal from the rich to give to the poor. Kunimitsu was at one time second in command of the Manji until Yoshimitsu finds out she was stealing from the clan's funds. Yoshimitsu removed her from the group completely. The sword Yoshimitsu wields is the sign of the current leader. This sword is also named Yoshimitsu. When a new leader of the Manji is elected, the former leader is sacrificed by the sword, which transfers their power to the sword and the new leader. The sword is cursed and requires regular killing of villains in order to retain its power. The word Manji is translated as swastika in Japanese. It is a symbol that represents divinity and spirituality throughout Asia. The swastika has a huge ancient history spanning across multiple religions and groups. On Japanese maps, the swastika is used to mark the location of Buddhist temples. In the Western world, it was once the symbol of success and good luck. But then, in the 1930s, it became the main identifier of the Nazis, and now it is very difficult to see the swastika as anything else but racism and anti-Semitism. Yoshimitsu enters the first King of Iron Fist tournament in order to distract everyone so that his clan could steal the tournament funds. During the tournament, Yoshimitsu meets a sumo wrestler named Ganryu. He learns Ganryu disrespected the sumo code and leads a life of crime and illegal gambling. Yoshimitsu decides that is the money he wants to steal. They are successful at acquiring the money, and Yoshimitsu, along with some of his clan, ride through a village where martial law and his family live, scattering Ganryu's crime-ridden money to everyone in the village. At this point, Yoshimitsu's appearance is nothing too strange. He is dressed in some traditional-looking Japanese armor and chainmail, with a horned helmet. It is not totally clear how Yoshimitsu lost his arm, but we do know that Dr. Boskanovich was the one who fitted him with a new mechanical prosthetic replacement. Before the second Tekken tournament begins, Yoshimitsu finds out Dr. Boskanovich has been kidnapped by the Mishima Zaibatsu, which is the main sponsor for the King of Iron Fist tournaments. And he is forced to work for Kazuya Mishima on projects like the genetically modified kangaroo, Roger, and genetically modified dinosaur fossil, Alex, as well as completing the prototype, Jack. Yoshimitsu enters the second tournament in order to rescue his friend, Dr. Boskanovich, from the Mishima Zaibatsu, and he is successful. Yoshimitsu's appearance has changed a bit, new armor and a new hat, while still keeping his face covered with a mask. Though there are two interesting things to note. His hat has a kanji written on it. This kanji is pronounced U and translates to something like world, heavens, or universe. His Player 2 outfit is yellow and silver, wielding a red sword. Looking closely at his right arm, you can see another kanji written on it. This kanji is pronounced Chiu and translates roughly as air, space, or sky. Now if you combine these two kanji, they pronounced Uchiu, meaning space, as in outer space. Anyway, later an Aztec fighting god named Ogre awakens from a long slumber. Dr. Boskanovich informs Yoshimitsu about a disease that he acquired while building and experimenting with a cold sleep machine he invented to preserve his daughter, who recently died, intending to find a way to give her life again. But this disease, Dr. Boskanovich claims, can only be cured with Ogre's blood. So, being that Dr. Boskanovich is very important to Yoshimitsu, he enters the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3 in order to obtain this blood. Yoshimitsu successfully collects Ogre's blood, and Dr. Boskanovich first experiments by having a lab rat consume the blood. The results seem to be quite a surprise. On the topic of Yoshimitsu's appearance, he's got some cool red and black pants with his sword now glowing green. But his chest and face, or mask, is a bit more out of this world than before. As time passes, Yoshimitsu becomes concerned with the future of the Manji clan. The number of members and the amount of funding they have isn't keeping up with the rising population of political refugees. Yoshimitsu then hears of a 4th tournament taking place. He gets the idea that there could be a union between the Mishima Zaibatsu and the Manji. He immediately enters the tournament, knowing he must defeat Heihachi Mishima at all costs. Once Heihachi is defeated, he holds a meeting in the Mishima Manor with Yoshimitsu. Heihachi never intended to have anything to do with the Manji and only lured Yoshimitsu there to have him murdered. Yoshimitsu expected something like this was going to happen, so he had already given orders to the Manji to airlift the Mishima vault, and Yoshimitsu escapes through the ceiling. So, now it looks like Yoshimitsu's got some insect armor. He has beetle-looking horns on his helmet, a skeleton face, and insect wings. His sword is still green though. His Player 2 outfit is reminiscent of his original look. Red hair, red, black, and white armor. A bit more traditional looking, with a giant demon face on the back. We also notice something familiar printed on the front. So, after taking the Mishima Zaibatsu vault, Yoshimitsu found an injured Brian Fury and brought him to Dr. Bosconovich. When Brian Fury awakens in the laboratory, Bosconovich informs him that his mechanized body was too complex for him to work on, so he installed an always charged power generator to keep him alive. Brian Fury throws a fit and attacks Dr. Bosconovich and murders the Manji guards at the laboratory. Yoshimitsu finds out what happened from Bosconovich and swears revenge. He learns Brian Fury entered the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5. Sharpening his sword, Yoshimitsu enters that tournament. Yoshimitsu finds Brian causing chaos and destruction with a Gatling gun. He emerges to catch Brian Fury's attention, and then disappears. Yoshimitsu then somersaults out of the sky, aiming his sword straight for Brian, and landing his attack. Brian ending with a scream and an explosion. Now taking a glance at Yoshimitsu's outfit, it seems to be modeled after a very traditional Japanese Genji-styled full-bodied armor, with skeletal appendages, and his mask is very demonic-faced, and the back of his mask has long glowing tentacles. Later on, Yoshimitsu noticed his sword was emanating a sinister aura. The sword, being evil in nature, was in a continuous pursuit of blood and attempting to drive its owner insane. Yoshimitsu had been suppressing its power by killing the evil and malicious, but it was becoming more difficult to maintain the sword's balance. He knew the sword was capable of striking out and causing chaos if left unchecked. In order to prevent this, Yoshimitsu obtained the Fumaken sword, which has the ability to contain the evil sword. So then Yoshimitsu enters the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6, knowing Azazel was terribly evil and powerful, and that slaying him with the sword would restore balance to it. After defeating Azazel, Yoshimitsu removes the mysterious orb and attaches it to the cursed sword. He struggles to keep control of it, because it now seemed more powerful than ever as it transforms. Yoshimitsu seems to go a bit mad and slashes at the ground with all his might, which results in a slice through Azazel's chamber. Yoshimitsu's appearance isn't too dramatically different than in Tekken 5. It looks as though he is wearing a type of samurai armor with large red shoulder pads and the same kanji on each shoulder that we've seen before. As usual, his armor gives off a very demonic vibe with the skeletal emblems, spikes and skulls, and a full skeletal mask. So now with Heihachi being the CEO of the Mishima Zaibatsu again, Yoshimitsu is already suspicious of something bad about to happen. In order to confirm his suspicions, he plans to infiltrate the Mishima dojo to gather information. When he arrives at the dojo, it looks as though a disaster struck the area. He then happens to cross paths with Leo, who seemed prepared for a fight, so they battle. After Yoshimitsu defeats Leo, he notices Leo is not breathing. He must have sensed that Leo was not evil and decided it was necessary for him to perform CPR. Leo becomes conscious, then looking up at Yoshimitsu's face, becomes scared and tries to get away, squirming and then kicking Yoshimitsu in the groin. So, we currently have no idea if Yoshimitsu succeeds at finding any information about Heihachi, because the last thing we witness is him twitching on the ground in pain, which is weird. But anyway, his appearance is way out of this world, full of tentacles and skeletal structures with glowing blue lights. He could be described as a demon, an octopus or a squid man, or maybe a space ninja. You could speculate that he is a different Yoshimitsu altogether, that maybe the past Yoshimitsu was sacrificed and now Tentacle Yoshimitsu is the new wielder of the Yoshimitsu sword and head of the Manji clan. We know Yoshimitsu has good intentions at heart, but he tends to satisfy those intentions with questionable solutions. Who knows? Maybe time will tell more about the mysterious Yoshimitsu. If you have any suggestions for another character you'd like to see a backstory on, please let me know in the comments and I'll add them to my list. Thank you so much for watching.